If you're a woman over 35 and you've been white knuckling your way through a 16-hour fast every day, but you're still tired, still gaining weight around your middle, and waking up at 3 a.m. wired, we need to talk. As a physician navigating perimenopause myself, I had to face a hard truth. The intermittent fasting habits that worked in my 20s were actually sabotaging my hormones in my mid-30s and beyond. Today, in a few short minutes, I'm sharing why I stopped traditional fasting and the circadian reset I use instead to stabilize my metabolism. Here's the biological reality. Perimenopause is essentially a state of internal stress. As our estrogen levels fluctuate and eventually drop, our brains become significantly more sensitive to cortisol. Naturally, cortisol rises in the very early hours of the morning and peaks within the first hour of waking up. While your body could likely handle a long fast in your 20s, that same 16-hour window during perimenopause can act as a massive stressor. When you don't eat, your body triggers a secondary cortisol spike to stabilize blood sugar. For some women, this is a temporary effect as they adjust to this fasting pattern, but for some, their bodies never adjust. The result? You end up in a cortisol trap. The higher cortisol contributes to insulin resistance and the thing we all dread, visceral belly fat. You feel tired but wired, anxious, and you can't sleep because your stress hormones are screaming at you all day. The second reason I walked away from traditional intermittent fasting is muscle. As we age, we face a natural decline in muscle mass called sarcopenia. Estrogen is actually a major player in muscle repair and muscle preservation. When it drops, muscle protein breakdown increases. To counter this, we need consistent protein bursts throughout the day. When you compress your eating window into 6 or 8 hours, it's physically difficult to hit the nearly 100 grams of protein per day recommendation to help trigger muscle synthesis. Most women end up under muscle and over fat because their metabolism slows down to match their shrinking muscle mass. You aren't just losing weight, you're losing the very tissue that keeps you young and metabolically active. So what does the transition look like in practice? It's about moving away from restriction and towards circadian alignment. I traded the rigid 16 to 8 eating window for a 12-hour physiological reset, typically eating between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Here's the clinical why behind that shift. Instead of forcing my body to fast through its most metabolically active hours, I now eat within the first hour of waking up. This supports the natural morning rise of insulin and cortisol. My routine is simple: a glass of warm water, direct sunlight to set my internal clock, and a protein-packed breakfast. This tells my brain and my hormones that the day has begun, and more importantly, that the mind and body are safe and calm. By closing the kitchen 2 to 3 hours before bed, we allow insulin to drop so melatonin can rise. This improves sleep quality and it ensures the body is focused on repair rather than digestion overnight. Most importantly, a 12-hour window provides the space needed to hit those critical protein targets at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You can finally reach your muscle building threshold without the digestive bloat that comes from trying to cram 100 grams of protein into a tiny 6-hour window. In perimenopause, your body is looking for safety, not more stress. And I've seen this personally. By widening my eating window and focusing on protein, my energy levels have increased, my sleep has improved, and I feel strong again. As a physician, I see how confusing health advice can be. Remember, healthy doesn't look the same for everyone. If you're trying a method that feels like you're constantly pushing a boulder uphill, listen to that signal. If it's not helping you feel better, it's okay to stop and pivot. We aren't just looking for what works this week. We're looking for what is healthy and sustainable for years to come. I'd love to hear from you now. If you're going through perimenopause or as you've noticed your hormones shifting, have you had to adjust your fasting window? Drop your stories in the comments below and I look forward to seeing you back next week.